Izzy guy. He's really awesome. Probably needs a promotion, that kind of stuff. Right here.
quickly so that those who are still coming are not sitting on the stairs or somewhere else. Come on in, don't be shy. It's a good problem to have. They actually told me, yes, they could. I walked in this morning and went, I don't think they did, because it was like a sauna in here. So this is propped open. My apologies. You know, we're layers for the rest of the year, because I just don't know what to expect. Although at the Gellerson building across the way, I think they're freezing. So I don't know, just always have a sweatshirt with me. Welcome. I hope everybody got the coffee and goodies that are out there. If you do not know, the restrooms are just behind there as well. My name is Kris Conrad. I'm the Pastoral Associate here, and I'm the face that goes with the name behind all those emails that you've been receiving and whatnot. So thank you for taking the time to get through to the end. We're going to start today the way that we start Mass. So we have a lot of new families this year. So we're going to take a couple of minutes. Please make a point of introducing yourself to somebody around you that you do not know. That was part of why we wanted name tags as well. So we can say, hey, you. So I'll give you a couple minutes. We're going to start, now that you've greeted each other, we're going to start with a prayer, as all things should. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Gracious God, thank you for this beautiful day, for some cool weather. Thank you for gathering these families. Thank you for the gift of our children, and for the catechists downstairs and across the way who are giving their time and their love and their energy to be able to pass down the faith and a love for Jesus Christ. Be with us today in our discussion and help us to feel inspired and uplifted in the ways that we can inspire faith in our children. We ask this all through your Son's name. Amen. Amen. Father and Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, like I said, my name is Kris Conrad. For those of you that don't know me, I started last fall as the Pastoral Associate here, but my family and I have been here for going on over 11 years. So I have my husband Don, who was the parking director this morning in his orange shirt. He even thought that through very well. Along with my kids, who I didn't get orange vests for them, I probably should have, but my kids were out there too. We have two children. Angela is 15 and driving, has the permit, got confirmed last year, and our son Sam will be 14 this Wednesday. So we love St. Teresa, we love the community. The first day we walked in, he looked at me and went, this is what church should be, and we have been hooked ever since. So I'm so glad that all of you are here. If you are new to St. Teresa, this is your first time being at G.I.F.T, would you please stand up?
You guys gotta buy lunch.
yourself, to introduce yourself. If you find a face that you don't know, just to have that conversation, answer any questions. There is so much to figure out especially this first session, where your kids go and how you do the book at home, and blah, 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 blah. So we're going to really try to make that effort for our new families to have that support system for those of you that have been here for a long time. We're going to continue with a little bit of discussion amongst yourselves. It's hard to do in this particular space, and we don't have enough other spaces in the building to be able to get you in various places. But what I would like to do is start today's conversation. Oh, and there's another new family. I'm going to single you out. Go ahead and stand up. Well, we're here. This is Joey and Annie. They just had to drop their kids up. We just need all of the families to stand up. Anybody have a chair open next to you? Because I've got people sitting here in the aisle. So there's 2 down here.
2 here.
Yeah, really, truly. So, Jeff, if there's anybody like comes in late and stand outside that door, just let it know that you're ourselves. Okay, so what I want you to do is turn to somebody around you, and you're going to get to know each other a little bit. And what I specifically want you to talk about is an heirloom that was passed down to you that is important to you, who you got it from, and why it's important to you. Okay, so we're going to take maybe 5 minutes. So don't talk too loud, because you want everybody to be able to hear. But about 5 minutes, an heirloom that was passed down to you from who, and why it's important to you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you. Sorry for my delay after Mass. Just got caught up with a couple things. But for those of you that I haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Father Kris. I'm the pastor at St. Teresa's, both with the community and with the university. It's just great great to see this entire room packed. It's just incredible. So, one of the things that I just want to talk about is that, it's really exciting when we have the beginning of a new year because it provides a lot of opportunity for possibility. That it gives us the ability then to come together, and especially for you as parents, to discuss these topics. One, to grow in your own faith, but two, to pass them along to your children. Over and over again, what we've seen in the Catholic Church is that it's all about handing on the faith and handing on our very selves to those who are around us, and especially to your children. I think that's one of the most important things. So one of the unique things about the program here at St. Teresa's is that we really focus on the fact that you are the primary teachers. So we're going to be bringing speakers in each month to talk on these topics, but ultimately it's to give you the tools and the resources that you need to help support you in that role as the first teachers of your children. In fact, many of you see the baptism rite take place at Mass at St. Teresa's, and in that blessing that we give over the mother and the father, one of the lines in it says that you are to be the first teacher and that you may be the best of teachers. And so Kris and I and all the speakers who are going to be coming in, we want to give you those tools so that you can be the best of teachers. And I know that can sometimes sound like a very daunting task, especially when you're thinking about like, oh my gosh, like what if I don't have all the answers, or what if I don't know, what if my kid asks me something that, and there's lots and lots of fears that can be around that. But that's why we know that first and foremost, we're here to support one another. Kris is here, I'm here. We have an entire room full of support. So that's what we want. We want to provide an opportunity then for you to share your own insights, your own experiences, to have those kind of discussions, so that way you don't feel like you're doing it by yourself. And that's the whole point of this program, is to be a support for one another so that you can be a teacher to your children. And so I don't know, Kris, have you ever talked about the process of, so basically with the books that we're using from the Sophia Institute, there's 2 lessons for each month. So we'll kind of look at the first lesson here together as a group, and then the second lesson is a way for you to go home and to use it with your family, especially with the kids. So then that way you kind of get a little bit here, and then you get a little bit back at home as well. So that's kind of the process that we'll use, and we'll try to make sure that the speakers, that they talk on the topics, but that they give you plenty of opportunity to discuss with one another different insights, tips, hints, practicalities, all those sorts of things, so that way we can learn and share with one another. I think that's one of the greatest assets of this program. So please know that Kris and I are praying for you as parents every day. We know how difficult it is just in terms of being able to not only run a social life and a family and work and every other responsibility and thing that pulls you in a million different directions. So know that we're praying for you in that, so that way you can be the very best of teachers. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kris, and this will be a great opportunity just to kind of look at the program itself, and I think she's got all kinds of resources for you already today to give you. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for saying yes to being those teachers for your children.
Thank you, Father. That we like to do here is not be standing up here being the only one that talks. That's why you're talking to each other. And now comes the really scary part where I'm going to ask you to talk back to me and to everybody else around you. So in the discussions that you just had, is anybody willing to share with us something that you shared about an heirloom that was passed down to you, what it was, why it's important, who gave it to you? Who's that great?
Yep. So Amy and I discovered that we both have the same prayer book that belonged to each of our grandmothers. The same title, which is really cool. And it has a lot of, obviously it belonged to our grandmothers, so there's a lot of really old prayers in it, and some we get and some we don't, and there's all sorts of stuff in this little prayer book. And she was saying that she also has prayer cards from family members who have been deceased a long time, and so just to have that little memento and something to grab onto from our grandmothers is really cool.
Exactly. Anybody else? That's so interesting that you were seated right next to each other so you can share that story. Anybody else willing to share what that treasured heirloom is, who gave it to you, why it means something to you? Jory.
Well, I was to sing that I have my grandmother's
A
wedding,
little bit louder.
my grandmother's wedding band, which I never take off except when I'm scrubbing the kitchen floor. But I'm her only granddaughter and got her wedding band.
Oh, wow.
Special, very old, fortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sure. Do you wear it like when you're, do you ever make hamburgers from scratch? Do you like do it with, you know, like, because I take mine off if my hand isn't like meat. Because it's good job.
Mike here behind
Yep.
me, one of the newbies, and I shared, and it turned out that we really didn't have heirlooms that we remembered.
Okay.
It was actually memories and that were passed down. So,
Yeah.
you know, I told him that my memory is I have great pictures of my father who built the Sears Tower as an ironworker. So
Wow.
at the top and halfway up on a girder, and his memory was baseball growing up and how important that was and how much it contributed to his life. So interestingly, both of us had memories.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right where you need to be. Anybody else? One last one? Susie.
When our son was baptized, Joe's mother gave us, it's a photo or a placard of an infant being baptized. And on the back of it, it's signed from like probably 4 generations, the dates of the baptism.
See, that's the kind of stuff where if your house burns down, know where it is so that you can grab it, because that's the stuff that makes you like.
That goes in the fireproof box.
It's in a fireproof box. And I'm very visually clean, but I saw you raise your hand. Who's your daughter? Eileen's over here like, okay, yeah, that's my father. So piano?
It was bought for him sometime in the late 1930s, and he had a rather intense business life. But when I saw him play the piano, it was like transformative. And especially with good music, if there was some vehicle or something, I could hear it come from him through the music.
Wow, that sounds good. So I think it's really, we can spend the whole time talking about this type of stuff, but now that you have gotten to know each other at least a little bit, I want to share a little bit more with you guys about things that I treasure. This is my grandma, which I mean is a teeny tiny picture, but this is my maternal grandmother. This is my mom's mom, who I adore more than anybody on the planet except for my parents. She died unexpectedly 3 days before Christmas, my freshman year of college. It was just the worst. It was awful. But she was the guiding light for me. She was the guiding light for my mom. She was the one who, no matter what was going on in our lives, we moved a lot when I was a kid. We moved every 2 years. And so every time I thought, okay, we're going to stay here, everything would be an upheaval and we would move again. And she was that force. That means she came to see us no matter where we lived. She was that guiding light. She was also known in our family. My mom is the baby of 7. And so Grandma had 20 grandchildren. I am the 8th of those 20 grandchildren. And she was known for always having, and I should have worn long sleeves to really demonstrate it, but she was known for always having a handkerchief tucked up her sleeve like this, so that, you know, whenever any of the 20, grandchildren had a snotty nose or something, she could just whip that out. Oh, here you go, honey, here's a handkerchief for you. So when she died, there was a whole chest in her closet full of handkerchiefs. So literally before we even had her funeral, I think almost all of us were there, gathered around this chest in her bedroom, and we each chose the handkerchief that we wanted. I had this with me on my wedding day, and I keep it in my office here now, and it is under the praying hands that my mom gave to me when I graduated from the lay ministry program. So those two things go together all the time. So this heirloom always reminds me of my grandma. On the other side of my family, these are my dad's parents from very many years ago. This is their wedding picture from about 1946. They got married when she was 17 and he was 23. And they didn't tell my grandma's parents until 3 months later. She literally wore the wedding ring around her necklace and hid it inside of her shirt. But never say never. They were married for 61 years before she passed away in 2007. For their 50th wedding anniversary in 1996, I actually asked them more or less to give me a gift. What I asked them to do. What was that? Who said it? You made everybody laugh. What'd you say?
You
You did. I thought I missed something. What I did was I gave them these note cards, one for every month of the year. And I had specific questions written on there, and I asked them to write me a letter and mail it back to me by the end of each month. And I started chronologically in their life. So, January's questions were about, what was your childhood like? What were your favorite games to play? Those types of things. And then by the time we got to December, the questions were, what's the secret to happiness? What's the most important thing in life? All those types of things. So I still have on the card, I have the question that I wrote, and then they each wrote their own. So these are 20 years old already. These are things that I will give to our kids when the time comes, and who knows, maybe that's something for our 25th wedding anniversary that we should do for them. What do you think? He'll hate that idea. But I would like that. Yeah. So those letters are my most treasured heirloom from my grandparents. Last but not least, this is my father-in-law, who I never met. And for those of you who know my husband, there's also a picture of him when he's 5 years old with the glasses and everything. I was like, I can't believe she's doing this. My father-in-law passed away in 1975 when Don was 14. So I have never known him except for one other church photo of just him. This is the only picture that we have of him with his family. When we got married, backtrack a little bit, his dad was a used car salesman. And not to be stereotypical, but kind of flashy. He wore a lot of jewelry. He had a lot of diamonds, that type of thing. So when we got engaged and then married, Don designed the rings, and he used the diamonds from his dad's rings, and then also the central diamond from his mom's wedding ring. So I have that wedding ring, his wedding ring, on my hand today because he hasn't worn it since probably 1998 because we worked at Applebee's. He was a bartender. I waited tables. And like me, he has a tendency to talk with his hands. And so he was talking with his hands behind the bar one day, and boom, there went the ring. And he was panicked. And people are they're fishing through the garbage cans, and they're dumping out the ice bin, and they're all over the place trying to find this ring. By the grace of God, I actually found it. It had landed underneath a bar table. And so they did find it, but he was like, here, put it in a safe place because the thought of ever losing that connection to his father, we don't want to lose that. So it is kept in a safe place in our home now, but I had to at least bring it so that you guys can see it. This is a precious heirloom. This is what has us the most connected to his dad. When I asked him what he and Melissa talked about as far as heirlooms, that was the thing he said, that the only heirloom he has is the ring that has his dad's diamonds. Okay, so why am I telling you all these stories? Why are we talking about heirlooms? Does anybody have a guess?
You like to talk.
Well, 22 years and counting. I think Ryan actually has a real answer to that.
I think it's probably similar to what Father Kris is saying. It's about the handoff,
Yes.
and that's the physical sense and the spiritual sense is
Yeah.
what we're here to do.
Yeah, exactly. The whole idea is that, here, I have one last visual. This is the Sacred Heart of Jesus picture. I have this one because this is, she had the big, 16 by 20 photo. My grandmother, the first grandma, had the big gold frame and everything. She had this in her house, in her living room for years.